Welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. Today, Miracles, Part 1. From the Mother. Disciple. Why didn't you or Sri Aurobindo make a greater use of miracles as a means of overcoming resistance in the external human consciousness? Why this kind of self-effacement where outer things are concerned? This non-intervention or discretion? Mother. As for Sri Aurobindo, I only know what he told me several times. People give the name of miracle only to interventions in the material or the vital world. And these interventions are always mixed with ignorant and arbitrary movements. But the number of miracles that Sri Aurobindo performed in the mind is incalculable. But naturally, you could only see it if you had a very straight, very sincere, very pure vision. A few people did see it, but he refused, this I know, he refused to perform any vital or material miracles because of this mixture. My experience is that in the present state of the world, a direct miracle, material or vital, must necessarily take into account a great many elements of falsehood that are unacceptable. They are necessarily miracles of falsehood, and they are unacceptable. I have seen what people call miracles. I saw many of them at one period. But this gave a right of existence to many things which to me are not acceptable. What men call miracles nowadays are almost always performed by vital beings or by men who are in contact with vital beings. And this, as a mixture, accepts the reality of certain things, the truth of certain things that are not true. And this is the basis on which it works. So that is unacceptable. Disciple. I did not quite understand what you meant by saying that Sri Aurobindo performed miracles in the mind. Mother. I mean that he used to introduce the supramental force into the mental consciousness. Into the mental consciousness that governs all material movements. He would introduce a supramental formation or power or force which immediately changed the organization. This produces immediate effects which seem illogical because they do not follow the normal course of movements according to mental logic. He himself used to say that when he was in possession of the supramental power, when he could use it at will and focus it on a specific point with a definite purpose, it was irrevocable, inevitable. The effect was absolute. That can be called a miracle. For example, take someone who was sick or in pain. When Sri Aurobindo was in possession of this supramental power, there was a time when he said that it was completely under his control. That is, he could do what he wanted with it. He could apply it where he liked. Then he would apply this will, for example, to some disorder, either physical or vital, or, of course, mental. He would apply this force of greater harmony, of greater order, this supramental force, and focus it there, and it would act immediately. And it was an order. It created an order, a harmony greater than the natural harmony. That is, if it was a case of healing, for example, the healing would be more perfect and more complete than any obtained by ordinary physical and mental methods. There were a great many of them, but people are so blind, so embedded in their ordinary consciousness, that they always give explanations. They can always give an explanation. Only those who have faith and aspiration and something very pure in themselves, that is, who truly want to know, they were able to perceive it. When the power was there, he even used to say that it was effortless. All he had to do was to apply this supramental power of order and harmony, and instantly the desired result was achieved. Disciple, what is a miracle? Because Sri Aurobindo often said that there are no miracles, and at the same time he says in Savitri, for example, all's miracle here, and can by miracle change. Mother, that depends on how you look at it, from this side or that. You give the name of miracle only to things which cannot be clearly explained, or for which you have no mental explanation. From this point of view, you can say that countless things that happen are miracles, because you cannot explain the how or the why of them. Disciple, what would be a true miracle? Mother, I can't see what a true miracle can be, because after all, what is a miracle? A true miracle. Only the mind has the notion of miracles, because the mind decides, by its own logic, that given this and that, another thing can or cannot be. But this represents all the limitations of the mind, because from the point of view of the Lord, how can there be a miracle? Everything is Himself, which He objectifies. Mother, one could say that the sense of miracle belongs only to a finite world, a finite consciousness, a finite conception. It is the sudden entry, the intrusion, the intervention, the penetration, without preparation, of something which did not exist in this physical world. So obviously, any manifestation of a will or a consciousness which belongs to a domain that is more infinite and more eternal than earth is necessary a miracle on earth. But if you leave the finite world, the understanding of the finite world, miracles do not exist. The Lord can play at miracles if it so amuses Him, but there are no miracles. He plays every possible game. You can begin to understand Him only when you feel in this way, that he plays every possible game. And possible does not mean possible according to the human conception, but possible according to his own conception. And there is room for miracles. Except that it looks like a miracle. Again, Mother, if instead of a slow evolution, something belonging to the supramental world appeared suddenly, man, the mental being, could call that a miracle, because it would be the intervention of something which he does not consciously carry within himself, and which intervenes in his conscious life. And in fact, if you consider this taste for miracles, which is very strong, much stronger in children and in hearts that have remained childlike than in highly mentalized individuals, it is a faith in the realization of the aspiration for the marvelous, of something higher than anything one can expect from normal life. And this is the best possible use of the need for miracles. The need for miracles is a gesture of ignorance. Oh, I would like things to be like this. It is a gesture of ignorance and impotence. And those who say, you live in a miracle, know only the lower end. And even then, they know it only imperfectly. And they have no contact with anything else. This need for miracles must be changed into a conscious aspiration for something which is already there, which exists, which will be manifested by the help of all these aspirations. All these aspirations are necessary, or if one looks at it in a truer way, they are an accompaniment, an agreeable accompaniment in the eternal unfolding. People only call miracles things they can't explain clearly, in mental terms. From that point of view, innumerable things that happen can be said to be miracles, because you can't explain the why or the how. Disciple, what would be a real miracle then? Mother, I don't see what a real miracle can be, because what's a miracle ultimately? A real miracle, it's only the mind that has the notion of miracle, because following its own logic, the mind decides that given this and that condition, this or that circumstance can or cannot be. But these are merely the mind's limitations, because from the Lord's point of view, how could there be a miracle? All is but himself, objectifying himself. So looking at it that way, for a given universe, a miracle would mean the sudden appearance of something from another universe. And for the earth, which brings the problem down to a manageable size, a miracle means the sudden appearance of something that doesn't belong to the earth. And this entry of a principle that doesn't belong to the earth as a finite world causes a radical and instant change. But then again, as the saying goes, the entire whole is founded in principle at the very core of each part. So even this miracle isn't possible. We might say that the sense of miracle can only belong to a finite world, a finite consciousness, a finite conception. It is the abrupt, unexpected entry, or appearance, or intervention, or penetration of something that did not exist in this physical world. So, it follows that any manifestation of a will or consciousness belonging to a realm more infinite and eternal than the earth is necessarily a miracle on the earth. But if you go beyond the finite world, or the understanding proper to the finite world, then miracle does not exist. The Lord can play at miracles if He enjoys it. But there's no such thing as a miracle. He plays all possible games.